Download the AllStar app. Make your picks for UFC fights, challenge your friends, level up and win prizes. Link in description. Get it now.
January 21st, Fury FC 85. You make your professional debut, second round submission win. Just take us through that fight and how you felt about your performance before getting the finish.
I was really excited to have that fight. I know that they wanted to try to get that one scheduled as an amateur. I had a hard enough time finding fights as an amateur, so I really wanted to go pro. And I figured, if they wanted to get that one scheduled, might as well make that a professional debut. Um, I think at the amateur level, they wanted us to fight for an AMI title or something like that. But yeah, I was eager, I was ready. I've been kind of waiting on making a professional debut for about a year or so now. Um, I thought that was a pretty good matchup for me, so I was excited to get out there and really more so than anything use some elbows. I think that really benefits my style. Adding those weapons in benefits my game plan a lot in all my fights. So it was really awesome. In the first round, I went into the fight knowing that I wanted to kind of tire him out a little bit, and I knew that I'd either get the finish in the second or the third. Um, so yeah, I kind of just followed along with everything I was thinking, and it ended up working out.
Yeah, man. It's always good to like have some time inside the cage.
Right.
Eventually getting the finish. You know what I mean? Instead of going in there in like 10 seconds, it's a different experience, right?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I had one fight as an AME, but I had a fight last like 42 seconds, and after the fight, I was like, man, I just trained 8 weeks for this.
Yeah, it's bittersweet
Yeah,
as
for
an
sure. It
athlete.
was it was so exciting, but at the same time, I was like, man, like, come on. I wanted to get punched
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah, it's all circumstances, right? Because if you were
Right.
fighting for a title and it only lasted 42 seconds, then you're like,
Oh yeah. Oh
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
that's good, that's good.
See now as a professional, we're getting paid and it's not much, but it's something, right? So I'm like 42 seconds for a decent little amount of money, a little fight purse. That's awesome. I'm okay with that.
And you mentioned you know it being hard to find opponents in the amateur ranks, and you've been wanting to turn pro. Is that the only reason, or did you feel like, hey, it didn't matter, like I'm ready for the professional ranks?
I think it really didn't matter to me. I wrestled in college. I've wrestled my entire life. Most of the other wrestlers that are competed at the same level that I did, they're making their MMA debuts as professionals. Um, so for me, I was kind of thinking about that after my very first fight. I made my amateur debut against a guy that was the Fury FC champion at heavyweight. Um, and I won that fight. And after that, I was kind of like, okay, like I got the cage time. I fought the best guy that there was to fight. Like I'm ready to kind of move on. Didn't work out like that. I'm glad I did get the cage. Like I got more cage time as an amateur. I had 5 amateur fights. So yeah, I'm excited to keep it going though.
For sure. And going back to the amateur career, you did have like a split decision loss. You know what I mean? How did
Yeah,
that
yeah.
impact you?
Uh, I really at first I was pretty upset about it when it happened. Then I watched the fight back. I feel like I gained some stuff from it, but at the end of the day, split decisions. They could have said my name just as well as they could have said his name at the final judge. I don't know if you've watched the fight, but I think that it was pretty decisive. But I'm not a judge. I don't get paid to do that. So uh yeah, I've not been the only person to that thinks that. But it's a loss. It didn't affect me too much as far as my preparation, my thought process, or my feelings about myself as an MMA fighter. It was just kind of something that happened. I've taken losses in wrestling. It's just, it comes with the territory.
Yeah, it seems like it's part of the game now where,
Yeah.
if you go to the judges, you just don't know what's
Exactly.
gonna
You're
be the
risking it.
result.
You're risking
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
That's why you got to get the finishes, man.
yeah, yeah. Um, you make your debut in January. You're heading into this next fight against Manuel Garcia in Texas. Well, it's not, is it home territory for you?
uh, I've so I'm from Ohio.
Yeah.
I lived there my entire life. I moved down here to do MMA actually, uh, because I had the grappling down more or less. But I wanted to get some striking, and I knew there were a lot of elite level strikers down here. One of my friends came down here, and I came down to visit him one time, and he was already training at the gym that I fight out of now. So I got to get some rounds in with some big name UFC guys. Trevin Giles, Nate Marquardt. At that time, were both training there. Um, so it was cool for me to be able to experience that and to be able to see like what the highest level was in MMA. Uh, so after that, I moved down here, but I would say. I guess I kind of consider it home territory. I'll have some people cheering for me. Some people in the area know me now, so it's nice. But yeah, I guess so.
All right. And Garcia, man, what do you think of him?
Um, I'm thankful anytime I can get somebody to get in the cage with me. Like I said, it's I have a hard time finding opponents. Um, so I'm just very grateful that he was willing to come up here and hop in the cage, make the weight and have a fight, sign a contract.
So you're at the point where you're just like, all right, just get somebody in
Yeah,
that
yeah.
cage
Well,
against me.
yeah, I had a contract signed with Anthony Cassar, and he pulled out. Penn State national champ. They sent him the contract, and I don't know what happened on his end, but yeah, apparently that fight's not happening. I was looking to try to get that one as a good something to show the UFC, a good fight to show the UFC, because I'm trying to get in there within the next year or so I can really be fighting the best in the world. Really test myself, see where I'm at. But yeah, that fight kind of fell through. Not on my end. I signed the contract, sent it back. Uh, yeah, I'm just kind of trying to get people in there to fight me now.
Why do you think he pulled out?
I'm not really sure, to be honest with you. I'm not too sure. I'm not gonna badmouth him or anything like that, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think that maybe he thought that MMA was gonna be one thing and he had a fight for Fury, and I watched the fight. I think it was a little bit tougher than maybe he thought it was going to be. I don't know whether he didn't prepare right or whatever, but yeah, I think that the MMA as a sport is really tough, right? Even for wrestlers transitioning from wrestling to MMA is a difficult process. Um, we just talked about me taking a split decision loss. I see that. I've experienced it myself too. So yeah, I think maybe he thought that MMA was going to be one thing, and then he's seeing, oh, I even at the not the UFC level, I have to fight guys like this, and that's not really what I want, and that's okay, right? It's not MMA isn't for everybody.
Definitely not, man. That's why you don't see every wrestler transitioning to MMA, even
Yeah,
grapplers,
yeah, right. It's a tough sport, man. Getting punched in the face really adds something to it.
Yeah.
A higher aspect of danger than in wrestling, where you're the worst thing that can happen in a match is you're getting thrown, right? You're getting thrown. Maybe you land on your head or your neck or something like that. But in an MMA fight, you get knocked out in front of people. That's different, and yeah, it's a scary thing to be thinking about. It's something that makes me personally really want to prepare harder for these fights because I would like for that to not happen to me.
And I was watching something, an interview that you did, and you're talking about suplexes, man. I think that's
Oh
something
yeah,
that's missing. But we did just see a suplex last weekend. Mohammed Makayev, I believe, he suplexed his
yep,
opponent.
yeah. I
But
saw a
whenever that
picture of
happens,
that.
everybody loves it. Everybody loves it.
Yeah, yeah, and that's why I'm hoping to bring that to the big show.
Mm.
Especially at the upper weight classes, you really don't see that very often. There's some elite level wrestlers, elite level grapplers throughout the UFC, obviously, right? But suplexes are hard to pull off. And I think I've gotten one in every amateur fight that I've had, other than one of them. I've gotten a pretty big, feet over head throw and I wrestled a lot of Greco-Roman. So in Greco-Roman, they would classify that as a 5-point throw. I think I've had one in 4 of the 5 fights that I did as an amateur. Didn't get one in my professional debut, but I think I was just too eager to use my elbows in that one.
Yeah, when you look at the bigger weight classes, right? Like heavyweight, light heavyweight, if you're able to suplex people, it's much more dangerous because there's so much more weight, right? And then
Yeah, yeah.
when someone's body's flying through the air, they're slamming onto the mat, like you can knock somebody out. Like I think
Oh
it's
yeah,
easier
man.
in the bigger weight classes.
Uh, I think that I think that it's not necessarily easier, but I think that it would be it's like cooler when you see it. For me, like I know that something that I have on my bucket list as an MMA fighter in general, right, is to get a slam knockout. So that's something that I'm always like hoping that I'm crossing my fingers, hoping that happens for me. And every time I'm trying a throw or trying to get a throw going, that's what I'm like looking for. Kind of is to find that illustrious slam knockout.
You have this incredible base in wrestling, the striking. Who do you work your striking with, and how has it been developing your striking for the last year or so?
I do actually work a lot of striking. It's kind of funny. I told myself going into my last fight because I knew that he was a striker mostly, that I wanted to show some striking. I'm saying the same thing in this fight. I know this guy's a striker. I want to show some striking. It was just so. I threw one punch and I saw his legs and I was like, man, they're there. I might as well take them, right? And so I do work striking a good amount. I work striking, like I said, with Trevin Giles, my striking coach, Joel Rivera, one of my coaches, Adam Copley. So I work a good amount of striking. Striking is probably one of the areas that I've grown the most in over the last 3 years of training. I just haven't really shown it too much. I think that for me, uh, people kind of got to get past level 1, which is the wrestling. And, if you can't get past level 1 in a mixed martial arts fight, I don't really have to go to level 2.
Yeah, it's a great plan B, so to say,
Right.
to have,
Right.
right? And if you have something that no one can stop, and you know it's coming, but you still can't stop it, you're gonna keep doing it, right? Like
Yeah.
that's just
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
so. What do you envision for this fight though coming up? How do you see this fight playing out?
Uh, I think that he's a striker. I watched a couple of his fights. Kind of has a little bit of a Thai style. He comes forward, throws some powerful shots, some leg kicks. So I see myself trying to exchange with him, keep him at bay, maybe tire him out a little bit, get some takedowns. Yeah, and I'm gonna be looking for a finish. So I'm excited about that one.
Is this fight gonna happen at light heavyweight?
Yep, yep.
Okay.
205. I think that his last fight was at heavyweight, or his all his fights so far have been at heavyweight.
Yeah.
So I know that he'll maybe have a little bit of a time making the weight class. But either way, whether he makes the weight, he doesn't make the weight, like we've talked about already. I really want to fight. I want to get in the cage. I want to keep growing. I want to keep getting wins, trying to build my name up and hopefully, like I mentioned, get the call up to the big show within the next year or two.
How many fights do you feel like you want to have this year?
My goals. So at my gym, we do our goal sheet the very first practice of every single year. This year, I wrote down that I wanted to have 4 fights and I wanted to have more than 75% finishes. So I wanted to try to get a finish in all 4 fights. This will be my second one. I want to try to get another fight after this one in July. God willing, I'm healthy. I'm able to go then around July, maybe August, and then October, November, get my 4th fight of the year in.
There you go. March 10th, Fury FC 87, Houston, Texas. James, thank you so much for taking the time, man.
For sure,
A lot of
man.
people are gonna
Thank
have their
you.
eyes on you. You know what I mean? You have the pedigree, and I'm excited to see what you can do in this light heavyweight division, man. We always need light heavyweights to come in and shake up
Oh yeah.
the world a little bit.
Oh yeah. I'm looking to do that, man. I got some big shoes to fill. There are a lot of really good people that have and had similar styles that I have, and they've all made really big names for themselves. The Kevin Randlemans, the Fedors, the DCs, right? I want to be up there with those guys. Those guys are legends, and it's for a reason. So hopefully I can keep stacking up wins, keep improving my game, and be up there with them one day.